Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are going way, way out there, 32 million light years to be exact, to investigate one of the most beautiful objects in the sky, the Phantom Galaxy. But we're not just sightseeing. We're looking for the invisible ghost in this cosmic machine. Okay, just take a second to look at this. What you're seeing here is Messier 74, better known as the Phantom Galaxy. It's what we call a grand design spiral, just this perfect pinwheeling structure hanging out in the constellation Pisces. And you can totally see why it gets that name, right? It has this ghostly, almost see-through look to it. Absolutely stunning. But don't let that serene beauty fool you. Hiding in plain sight is a really deep puzzle. You see, astronomers have found some really strange things going on in its structure, things that just don't add up. So that's our big question for this explainer. What invisible forces are really pulling the strings and shaping those magnificent, ghostly arms?
So let's dive right into the first part of our investigation, the Phantom's puzzle.
Now, this slide lays out the puzzle perfectly. I want you to look at the difference between the galaxy's two main arms. Over on the left, we have what astronomers call Arm A. See how it's this gorgeous, regular chain of star formation? It's like glowing beads on a string. But then you look over at Arm B on the right, and it's a total mess, right? It's all chaotic and clumpy. So, in a galaxy that looks so perfectly balanced from a distance, why on earth are its two main arms building stars in completely different ways?
So here's the bottom line. You've got two arms, part of the same galaxy, but they're telling two totally different stories. It's a real cosmic whodunit. And to crack this case, we've got to look for clues in places our eyes can't see.
And that brings us to our first major clue. To solve the puzzle, we have to find something that's completely invisible, something astronomers have dubbed the unseen magnetic arms. So get this, a team of astronomers led by Weżgowiec was studying the radio waves coming from M74, and they found something incredible. In the spaces that look totally empty, right between the bright starry arms, they picked up on these huge, highly organized magnetic fields. They called them magnetic arms, powerful, invisible structures woven all through the galaxy. And this chart just spells out the difference perfectly. The stellar arms, where all the action is, have higher magnetic energy, but it's all a jumbled, tangled mess. Now, compare that to these invisible magnetic arms. They have less energy overall, but the fields are way, way more orderly. Think of it like a messy ball of yarn versus a perfectly wound spool.
And if you want to see the proof, here's the data. Don't worry about the numbers and the axes, just look where the dots are. The black dots, that's the chaotic stellar arms, are all bunched up in a totally different area from the red dots, which represent those orderly magnetic arms. They're just fundamentally different places. So what in the universe could possibly create these incredibly organized magnetic structures?
Well, this discovery pointed scientists toward a really powerful, you might even say violent process. And what's cool is this process could also explain another big mystery about this galaxy, how it's heating the galactic halo. The main suspect here is something called magnetic reconnection. The basic idea is that in a plasma, tangled up magnetic field lines can get squeezed together, then suddenly snap and explosively rearrange themselves into a much neater pattern. A good way to think about it is like snapping a bunch of tangled rubber bands. They release this quick burst of energy and fly apart in a much straighter, more orderly way. In space, that burst of energy is heat.
And that heat is a really big deal because it helps us with that other puzzle I mentioned. Check out this chart. M74's star formation rate is, well, pretty average. But the gas in its halo is shockingly hot. As hot as what you'd find in a starburst galaxy that's cranking out stars like crazy. So where is all this extra heat coming from? Stars alone just can't be cooking the gas this much. Something else has to be cranking up the thermostat.
And so the theory proposed in that Weżgowiec paper puts all the pieces together. They suggest that magnetic reconnection, happening on a massive scale out in the galaxy's halo, is providing all that extra heat. It's this one single process that could potentially solve both mysteries at once. It organizes the magnetic fields to make the magnetic arms, and it superheats the gas in the halo. It's a really neat package, right?
So, problem solved, case closed, right? Yeah, not so fast, because this is where the story takes a very sharp turn.
See, there's another way to look at all of this. A different perspective, where scientists see the exact same evidence, but they ask a fundamentally different question. They ask a question of cause.
This quote from scientist Donald E. Scott really gets right to the heart of it. He says, Magnetic fields are created by and moved around by electric currents, nothing else. His argument is that focusing on magnetic fields reconnecting is kind of missing the point. You literally can't have a magnetic field in space unless an electric current creates it. So why are we talking about the effect, the magnetic field, instead of what's actually causing it?
It's a really profound point. He's basically asking, what if we're all just staring at the smoke and completely ignoring the fire? In this view, the magnetic fields are just the smoke. The fire is the flow of these unimaginably huge electric currents through the plasma that makes up the galaxy.
And this sets up a real clash of ideas, a direct showdown between these two theories, currents versus reconnection.
This slide breaks down the two viewpoints perfectly. On one side, you've got magnetic reconnection. Its focus is on the behavior of the magnetic fields themselves, how they tangle, break, and snap. That's our snapping rubber bands analogy. But the electric current model says, hold on, let's focus on the flow of charge. The currents are what's fundamental, and they induce the magnetic fields, kind of like how an electric transformer works. And this diagram is a great illustration of Scott's idea. He calls it transformer action, just on a cosmic scale. You have a main powerful current flowing through space. If that current changes, it can induce secondary currents and all the complex looping magnetic fields we see. From this perspective, you don't need the fields to reconnect because their shape was determined by the currents from the very beginning. So we're left with two powerful, completely different ways of looking at this same mystery. Is the galaxy shaped by the chaotic behavior of magnetic fields snapping and heating gas? Or is it a giant cosmic circuit where the flow of electricity is the real architect and the magnetic fields are just a side effect? This is a real live debate happening in astrophysics right now, and it is absolutely fascinating.
And that brings us all the way back to where we started, just looking at this stunning, enigmatic phantom galaxy. For all we think we've figured out, you get the feeling it's still holding its secrets very close. And it leaves us with this one last crucial question. Is the ethereal beauty of the phantom shaped by the violence of magnetic fields breaking apart? Or is it sculpted by the silent, steady flow of the cosmic currents that create those fields in the first place? The answer? Well, it's still out there, waiting in the ghost.